You know, the trouble with your TV, Bob, is too much crime, too much bang-bang, too much skullduggery. You people, your dramas with cops and robbers and mayhem and arson. And of course, no night on TV is complete without a parcel of 3 or 4 murders in cold blood.
I agree with you, Larry. We overdo it on TV, but the fact is there is a great deal of lawlessness these days. I was a police court reporter before I started writing TV scripts, and I've seen things in night courts, morgues, in cellars, and in swank drawing rooms that would make your flesh crawl, creep, and shrivel.
In other words, we mortals err.
We certainly do, Betty. In the old days, when we were still pushing our new frontiers westward, we had a spate of horse thieves, train robbers, and bank robbers. But now we have big-time crime syndicates.
The thieves and rustlers of the old days were no small operators, Bob. The prairies were wide open. Millions of dollars were stolen in successful getaways. The Dalton boys, Jesse James, the rest of them were no Robin Hoods. They were mean, ornery, bloodthirsty, and ruthless.
Well, life was cheap and often brief in the western frontier days. The hardships of pioneering fashioned a code that respected bullets rather than law. The .45 Colt was supreme. Men won fortunes from the mines and lost them quickly over the gambling tables. Some rode the ranges, herding their cattle and warring constantly with gangs of rustlers. It was a rugged, uninhibited way of life, natural to the Old West. But now what have we? Rackets, syndicates, mean and merciless.
Every generation of criminals must learn that crime does not pay. The biggest fool on earth is the one who thinks he can beat the law.
And yet you boys will go out tomorrow and visit your local bookmaker and put $2 down on a horse, or you'll go to Las Vegas and play the slot machines, or you'll offer the traffic policeman a pass for the theater for not giving you a ticket for speeding. Everybody has his angle.
Now, Betty, when a man or woman plays the horses or puts a quarter in a slot machine, it's harmless recreation. But murder, that's different. Murder is a crime, an awful crime.
Yet murder fascinates us all when we read about it or see it on the screen.
The most fascinating type of all is the planned murder committed by a new formula and unexpected means. With new discoveries in medical and chemical science, an entire new and fruitful field has been opened for the murderer, man or woman, with a flair for originality.
In other words, while there's only one known way of getting born, there are endless ways of dying?
Endless ways, but not lovely ways, Bob.
Ooh, well, I like my crime between covers, in books. I like Edgar Allan Poe. Now, there's a man who could solve a ghastly murder, and all on paper. Harmless, but spine-tingling.
It happens that at least one of Poe's stories was the real thing based on actual facts. That was his Mystery of Marie Roget. This was the story of the disappearance and murder of a shop girl. The story contains no solution, and for a very good reason. The actual murdered heroine was Mary Rogers, and the locale was New York. Poe's story pointed to the real-life slayer, and for that reason, the paper which ran Poe's article dared not print a conclusion. Later on, it was claimed that Poe's reasoning was substantially correct. As a matter of fact, the confessions of 2 persons made at different periods long subsequent to the publication of Poe's so-called story confirmed in full the general conclusion to which Poe pointed.
Now, in real life, we haven't learned very much about how to deal with criminals. We used to crop the ears of thieves, and in some cases, we would brand them. Death used to be the penalty for scores of crimes, including burglary. In the old days, even children of 7 were thought capable of committing crime. We used to have Newgate Prison, an abandoned copper mine in Upper Connecticut. They chained hundreds of culprits by their necks to beams in the roof. That was more than a century ago, of course, and Newgate is no more. But a lot of our laws and penal practices are still antiquated.
Or vicious in their stupidity.
Yes. In the 20s, a law was passed in Idaho forbidding circus companies to enter the state. And in a little town in Kansas, an ordinance was passed making it illegal for small boys to play marble.
I can top that. Up until the 30s, it was still unlawful to keep a bathtub inside the house in Virginia. The law probably was not enforced because it had come down from an earlier age, but there it was, still on the statute books. As a matter of fact, when the phonograph was first introduced, several Midwestern states censored it by prohibiting the playing of what they called indecent compositions on it. And some of these laws are still in effect.
You know, many censorship laws attached punishment to exhibition of unchaste works of art or distributing certain books. Did you know that at the time that Harvard had Theodore Dreiser's American Tragedy on its list of required reading, the Boston authorities were banning it from bookshops in the city? And about the same time in the 30s, Voltaire, Rousseau, even the photographic reproductions of some of Michelangelo's frescoes were kept out of the country by censors of the Treasury Department.
That was the era when the Hollywood censors were limiting kisses to 4 feet of film.
That was a crime. Not the kiss, but putting time limits on it.
Yes, tragic. No kiss should be too short. The law, rather, should be against short kisses.
Agreed.
Oh, shall we dance? Now, Bob, out on the patio.
Are you asking?
This is Ray Blackstone. The moon hangs high as we take leave of our gay and talented new friends and conversationalists, Betty and Bob, dancing together out there on the moon-drenched patio, and Larry, benignly watching as this romance develops under his gentle prodding. Have you profited from this record? We hope so. Before we leave you to meet you again on the other records, let us summarize a few points. Point 1. Conversation does not consist of bare questions and answers. That is banal. Conversation must be fluid, not jerky. Point 2. Good conversation is a mixture. It consists largely of your personal observations, serious or humorous, on life, on people, on current affairs, on human problems, or on little things, perhaps the beauty of a corkscrew or the charm of an old chimney. Point 3. Above all, do not argue. Argument is not conversation. Conversation is a mixture, a delightful mixture of wit, personal observation, and other things. So, good luck.